Hey, sisters on Facebook and YouTube. This is Natalie Hoffman with flyingfreenow.com. And it's Monday morning, and here we are. I want to actually answer a question today that I get so much. And so I have a feeling that many of you probably have the same question. And even if you've heard the answers that I have to this question, you might just need a refresher, because our brains, we're programmed to believe that we can do that if we just work hard enough, or if we just use the right words and say them the right way, that we can motivate someone in our lives that we love to change and to be a better person, and to be a better person so that we can continue to have a good relationship with them. Maybe I shouldn't say continue to have, so that we can start to have a good relationship with them. And so the question I got this question actually in the membership in the Flying Free Sisterhood group, but it's something that it's a very generic question. So here's how she put it. She said, "How did you all express to your husband what needed to change in order for the separation to end?" So this person is separated, and she's wondering what she needs to let her husband know. Hey, you need to do this, this, and this if you want to get back together again. She says, "I'm afraid to give specifics or ask for external changes like counseling, keeping a job, or similar, because he can easily fake it or make it seem like I'm turning our marriage into a contract instead of a covenant. Plus, those external things wouldn't fix the actual problem anyway." Does anyone have any experience with this? So let me just ask you guys who are watching right now, do any of you have experience with this? Or have you had experience with this in the past? You can go ahead and leave a comment and let me know. And maybe if you'd like to, for the sake of other people who are watching, if you have advice or insights based on your experience, I'd love for you to bring value to this video that people will watch later by expressing some of your insights and advice, okay? We need to teach each other and learn from each other from what we've experienced. So feel free to drop your own truth bombs in the comment section, all right? Because other people are going to be reading this and they want to hear what you have to say. Okay, so I wanted to let you know about that. Now, let me tell you my answer to this question. So if you're just joining, the question is basically, how do I express to my husband what he needs to do to change in order to if I'm going to stay in this relationship, I need to see some changes. So how do I articulate that to my husband in a way that doesn't make him just go, "Oh, fine, I'm just going to tick off all the boxes, and then we're all good to go." So I just want to say, first of all, that in answer to this, that I think that this woman is correct, that external change is not real change. Change takes place from the inside, and then it emanates to the outside. But it has to start internally. And and change has to be internally motivated too. It can't be motivated by external people putting pressure on you to change. That's not lasting change. Statistically, it just doesn't last. So let's ask the question, how does change happen in our own lives? How does change happen in a person's life? First of all, the person has to see that there's a problem in their life, and it has to cause them pain. Think about it. That's how we changed, right? That's how we are changing. We see a problem in our lives. It's causing a lot of pain, emotional pain for us. And what do? We try to find a solution to the pain. Now, a lot of people they'll think that the solution is just to get away from the pain. I'm just going to avoid the pain. I'm going to resist the pain. I'm going to ignore the pain. I'm going to buffer with the pain by overeating, overspending, overdrinking, watching pornography. All kinds of addictions are great ways that we buffer to avoid pain. And this is what your husband is doing as well, okay? This is what we all do. This is just a human thing. So what we do, though, is when we have this pain, we get to a place where we're at the bottom of the pit, and we think, okay, this isn't working. I need to find a solution. Something has to change. Now, some people will say, all of these people, my circumstances will have to change. And so what do? We try to control our circumstances. We try to make all the people around us do what we want them to do, or be happy, or placate them so that we can feel better. Again, this is just one of those unhealthy ways of helping ourselves to feel better. When in actuality, we cannot change our circumstances. Those are outside of us. We cannot control people. When we start to control other people, we're just doing what they're trying to do to us, right? We don't want them to control us, so we need to stop controlling them as well. And we need to take responsibility. That's the ability to respond to our own situation and our own circumstances for ourselves. Okay? That is what creates transformation in our own lives. We cannot create transformation for our kids, our husbands, our church members, our best friends, our extended family. They have to create that own transformation for themselves. So, who can we change? What can we change? One thing, and that's us. It's when we try to change other people, you guys think about this too. We're learning all about boundaries, and we're all about boundaries. That's crossing into their boundaries. When we say, hey, you have to do this, 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 and this, or I can't be with you, what we're doing is we're saying, we're trying to manipulate them so that they'll be who we want them to be for us. And that is wrong. I think the church has it all wrong in this area. When they try to dictate to people, here's what you need to do. You need to do A, B, C, and D in order for you to be loved and accepted by this church, or in order for you to be loved and accepted by God, or in order for you, that's not trying to control people that way so that they fit into this homogenous group is just, it's not healthy. Okay. So what can we do about other people? Because if you are in a painful and confusing marriage and you can't change anything, what you might be wondering, well, what can I do then? What am I supposed to do about this? Here's the first thing you need to do. The first thing we all need to do is to accept our situation, to accept the reality of it. And so many of us took a long, long time, or are taking a long time to even come to that place of acceptance. We need to accept so many things. We need to accept who we are. We need to understand who we are. A lot of us don't even know who we are because we've basically squelched ourselves and hidden and become a shadow of ourselves in order to placate and please all the other people who are trying to control us. So we don't even know who we are. But then also, we need to accept who they are. We need to accept, so in relation to our marriages, we need to accept that our husband is who he is. He is. And he doesn't have to change, you guys. He doesn't have to change. He probably doesn't want to change. Many of you have discovered that. Yeah, he really didn't want to change. They don't see a need to change. And if they don't see a need, if what is happening in their lives is not a problem for them, it's not causing them pain, they're not going to want to change. Why would you change something that's really working for you? So they're not going to see a need to change. They're not going to want to change, and they don't have to change. They're an autonomous adult who gets to make their own choices for how they want to show up in the world and how they want to behave and act. And there is nothing that we can or should do about that. This truth in and of itself can be a huge light bulb moment breakthrough for women once they really grasp and understand this. So we need to accept them as they are. So once we do that, once we look at them and we go, this guy has shown me who he is for 20 plus years, or even if he's only shown you who he is for 5 years, is that enough time? I mean, how long does it take for someone to show you who they are before you believe them, before you decide, yeah, you know what? That's who he is. Maybe he showed you a different side of himself, or a facade of himself when you first met him and were dating him, but then it changed shortly after you got married. The way it changed, how it changed, that's who he really is. But so many times we're thinking in our minds, oh, if we could only just get back to who he was, I saw so much potential in him. I saw so much, he was just a kid back then. But you know what? He was, and he did have potential. We all have potential at all times. He still has potential. But what he's shown you over the course of many years is that he's not interested in self-development. He's not interested in transformation. He's not interested in changing. And therefore, you need to just accept that and believe that. And then once you accept and believe that, now the door opens, a brand new door opens for you. It's a door of opportunity that leads to other options in your life. Because over here, you only had one option. Actually, you had two options. Number one, get the man to change. You change so I can live with you. That was one option. Or number two, I have to change in such a way that I no longer recognize myself in order to keep the peace in this relationship and placate this other person. Those were your only two options before you accepted the reality of who he is, as well as who you are. Who are you? Find out. Okay, that's one of your greatest works of the course through the course of your life, is to find out who God created you to be, and then to live into the fullness of that. That's how you fulfill your destiny here on your brief life on earth. Once you accept that, the door opens to these new possibilities. Now what can you do? Knowing that he is who he is, you are who you are, now what can you do? And you know what you can do? You can transform. You can actually, I was just at a retreat this last weekend. I was speaking at this little healing retreat. It was really a special time. But one of the things I told the women is that your past is not like a millstone around your neck trying to drag you down and hold you back. That's not your past at all. And yet so many of us are like, wasted the best years of my life. What a waste. My past is just, and now there's nothing much left of my life. Okay? That's such a lie from the pit of hell that just keeps you stuck. Your past is actually like a hallway. It's a very long hallway and perhaps a very dark hallway, but it leads to a door, the door of your present. And that's where you are right now. You can open that door, and if you do, you're going to see a launching pad right outside that door. And that launching pad is what launches you into your future. And so when we think about all of this, we think, so we're going to open this door and realize, wow, we've got opportunities that involve our transformation. When I called this whole thing, my whole group and program, Flying Free, because I picture this is kind of stupid, but I picture this rebounder trampoline, that you jump on, and it's like got magic powers, and you jump on it and then you go flying into the air and you just keep flying. Okay, that's what I want to see all of us do. I want to see us to get through that door onto that magic rebounder trampoline, and I want us to get launched into our future, which means that we're no longer held back by this long, dark hallway, but we're now flying free. And when I say flying free, I mean that we are who God made us to be. We are free. We're no longer living from a stance of fear and shame. Instead, we're living from a stance of love and freedom. That is our destiny as children of God. That's God's destiny for our husbands as well. But unfortunately, because of their beliefs and their issues and their refusal to acknowledge any problems internally inside of themselves, they're going to always blame their circumstances. They're going to blame you. They're going to blame the kids. They're going to blame their boss at work. They're going to blame all their external circumstances, and they will never, ever launch. It's a failure to launch, okay? We have to decide, do I want to do that too? So you're not a perpetrator of emotional abuse. You're a victim of emotional abuse, but you're faced with the same exact choice. You get to do what your husband's doing, or you can do something different, and you can actually transform yourself. Now, when you do, that's when the proverbial you know what hits the fan. Because guess what? You may want to transform and change, but nobody around you wants you to transform and change. And I'm going to leave it at that because that's the choice that you have. You can either transform and fly, and all the peoples are going to be gnashing their teeth and they're going to be angry at you and trying to get you to change back. And but that's part of your transformation. That's part of your superpower. Once you start flying, you realize, I'm never going back. I'm never going back. And then so many opportunities open up for your life. Okay, so I'm going to segue right into this. The Flying Free program is only going to be open every 6 months from now on. I'm only opening it up every 6 months. So the last time that you can get in to that program before next March of 2021, is it March? The end of March, April 1st of 2021, is at the end of September. It's actually October 1st. I'm going to open it up October 1st. Now, I know it's only August right now, it's the end of August, but I'm going to start kind of giving you tastes of what I try to do with the women in the program. And it's a fabulous program. It is the only program of its kind because it's the only program out there that actually helps people, that actually uses a specific model that helps people rewire their brains in a way that's transformative. It takes your programming and it helps you to be able to start looking at that programming and then deciding from an adult point of view and an objective and compassionate and curious point of view whether or not you want to keep your programming or which parts you want to keep and which parts are not working for you and they're creating very negative results in your life. Okay, that's what we do in Flying Free. And so it's opening back up again for new registrants. And so I'm going to be talking about that a lot this next month. And I'm going to be giving you tastes of what I teach the women, how I systematically walk the women through this whole process so that you can kind of get a feel for it. We're going to do a webinar. I'm going to have a webinar towards the end of September, and it's going to be really, really good. It's going to teach you some things you've probably never heard of before. And so hop on my mailing list. If you're not on it, you want to get on my mailing list so that you can get information about that webinar when it starts. All you have to do is go to my website. It's flyingfreenow.com. And at the very top, just put in your email, your name and your email address. I don't spam people. I'm really nice to my mailing list, okay? In fact, I'm not even going to spam you about this Flying Free program. The only people that I give lots of extra bonuses and perks to people who get on the waiting list for that program. And you can get directly on the waiting list for Flying Free by just going to joinflyingfree.com. Hop on the waiting list, and then I will be especially giving you some extra things that I don't give to anybody else on my regular mailing list. I don't give to anybody else here on Facebook or anything. So that's all I have for you today. And trying to think, I hope I didn't miss anything. That's it. I'd love to see you in a small group or in the program in a month. Other than that, until next Monday, fly free.